I've talked in the past about not being a true poet in the sense that I almost write with a comedy logic and also a little bit of what you'd call traditional poetry kind of blended together. And a lot of modern/traditional poetry, there is no audience testing. There is no working it out in front of an audience. You do it like purist style, just by yourself in a room alone, and you write what your heart has to say, and that's it. There's no test, like comedians do when they work out one of their 1 hour specials, how they test it out on different crowds, and how the common wisdom amongst comedians is if it works on one audience, it'll work on pretty much anyone. So yeah, I write from a sense of comedy, logic and poetry. I want to be both understood and misunderstood at the same time. I don't want to be misunderstood, but I want to be able to write stuff that means something to me, even if at the risk of no one else understanding it or getting it. I want to put that stuff into books. But I also want to be able to connect. I love that feeling of connecting after 30 years of feeling like, oh, I don't belong to this world. I love that feeling of belonging to the world after, just walking around going, what am I doing here? and then feeling people who say to me, finally, I hate the expression, I feel seen. I'd rather say I feel smelt. I don't know. It's just anyway. But yeah, I'm honoured that people feel seen or whatever they want to call it. Or other people have said it's like their old favourite writers in the past felt like it was them and their favourite writer versus the world. And I love that feeling. But it's a phase. It was kind of not a phase for me, but I didn't want to just feel like it was me and my favourite writers versus the world forever. Part of me loved it and enjoyed that at the time. That was really, it was like, yeah, finally I feel understood. Now it's me and you versus the world. Yeah, so when I've assembled my books, I've put in pieces that are almost kind of borrowed from comedy logic, that are widely understood, and I put in pieces that make no sense. So the feedback for You're Gonna Be Okay book that's released has been really good, but the most interesting thing is there's a piece in it that I've shared on social media before, and it never really took off. It never really did viral rounds, and that was a piece that I thought, I don't care if this isn't being shared, I'm just going to put it in because I really like it. So I've always had kind of a sort of a mix when I'm assembling a book. Half of them I want them to have worked before on social media, and the other half I don't care if they worked or not, as long as I really like them. So that's that comedy meets poetry vibe. And so the feedback, there's one particular poem that that people keep sharing who have bought the book, and this is a poem that I've shared on social media. It never did well, but people seem to have found it in the quietness of a paper book, and it's sung to them. It's because it's one that keeps getting shared back to me, and that spins me out. And it's a reminder that to keep doing that, putting the stuff in that doesn't work on social media, but it works alone and quiet in a book. Two totally different things. Like I've had stuff that works well quietly on a scroll screen, just as printed words, and I've had stuff where I've talked to the camera and I've articulated the poem or the thing as spoken word, and it works better like that. So I never know how something will work, but I love the pieces that didn't work at all on social media but worked in a book, and I couldn't test for that, and that's that unknown stuff, the immeasurable stuff. So I love leaving half a book free for that completely stuff that I cannot test, except for the stuff that I love. That's all that matters. So yeah, part of me is pure technician, comedy logic, testing stuff out on audiences, because I want the book to be able to sell, to be able to connect to people like a Trojan horse, get a book in people's hands. But then I want stuff to not be just a jingle that you hear once and forget about. The jingles are good because they sell the book, but then it can just feel like a hollow piece of crap if it was as full of them. And they're actually quite hard for me. The catchy viral jingle pieces is what I'm calling them, jingles. They're the hardest to write. They take a lot of testing and a lot of time, and then occasionally you'll stumble across one and you go, oh, I don't even like that, but it resonates. It's so weird. So I'm always testing stuff that I don't like, and the stuff that I do like that rarely resonates on social media ends up resonating in a book. So I love that. I love how books are still valuable, that they cannot be, the best stuff keeps getting, is the stuff that ends up in a book, or that works in a book, and it does not work on social media at all. I'll find the piece that keeps getting shared to me. Yeah, here it is. Life's kind of like walking through a series of doors and rooms, one after the other. At the beginning of life, the doors are small but lead to big rooms. Then the doors get bigger, more prestigious, but they lead to increasingly smaller rooms. And at the peak of your so-called life success, you walk through the largest, grandest, most ornate door and into the smallest cell-sized room. You want to cry, you're beaten and tired. There's just enough room to drop to your knees, and when you do, you notice the tiniest door on the back wall to a new life, a new world. For me, that was kind of, there was no particular moment that went, oh, this is inspired by it, but I was thinking today how it might have been inspired by the time back in 2013 when I was in a job and I was offered a promotion as a creative director. I was working in a corporate place for 2 years, and I pretended to think about it for a couple of days, consider it. I knew I didn't want it. I didn't want the extra responsibility. I wanted to be able to get home after work, not tired, and then write poetry by the train tracks to no one for free, to zero audience. And so I turned it down a few days later, and then I got slowly managed out of that job over 6 months. But that could have led to a completely different life. For me, that was the peak of my so-called life success, the most prestigious door that I thought I was about to walk through, that I knew would have led to the tiniest cell-sized room. And I was like, no way, I'm going to have the biggest room by the train tracks at night, the foxes stealing my backpack, trains going past, shunting commuters past, like the place lit up like a fucking industrial fireworks. That's the poem that got shared. It keeps getting shared back to me or tagged with me in it, but it never resonates when I post it. But it's funny how, yeah, I love how a book carries the words very differently than on a screen. The context of a quiet book, and it can also be the danger of making stuff that just works on social media is you can get trapped into making stuff that's just like that over and over again, because you're getting rewarded for it. You're getting more followers. I've seen influencers who want to be writers and authors get trapped into thinking, this thing that I'm posting over and over again, it's working and I'm getting all these followers. And then they go to write the book they want, and they write the book that's based on that, and it does well. That's based on the stuff that went viral, and the book does well. But then they talk about wanting to write the book that they actually wanted to write, and it doesn't do as well because they were chasing what content was engaging, and they wrote the book that did well, but it wasn't the thing they really wanted to do. And I've been caught in that, and I remember I was writing a lot of cynical stuff about jobs, and I did it to begin with because it was fun, and I had a lot to say about it. It made me laugh about the 30 years of jobs that I did, and then I wrote a book about it, and the book did all right. It did all right for a self-published book, but then I could feel the audience, like I was only being rewarded for complaining about jobs and complaining about stuff in general. And I did it for a little bit longer, but then I felt I was running black smoke through my heart. I couldn't do that forever. I couldn't sustain that, like psychologically, or however. Like I'd go insane. And so I thought, no, I'm going to keep posting the stuff that I love as well. The stuff that I think would work, and the stuff that I knew probably would unlikely work, but post that stuff as well and find an audience more slowly, because then at least I know the audience that isn't here for viral stuff, but for the stuff that I actually want to write. And I thought, yeah, I'd rather have fewer people who follow me and write books that I love. That's what I saw. That's where I saw it was going. It was either I could keep doing that and I could get heaps of followers real quick, or go much slower and write books that I love that people would also understand.